Let's be honest, arguments in relationships often feel like a battle you have to win. You feel wronged, disrespected, or misunderstood, and the instinct is to fight for your position to prove you're right. But here's the hard truth. When you win an argument, your relationship is actually losing. This echoes a fundamental Stoic principle. Winning doesn't mean you've triumphed. In fact, Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In the context of a relationship, the enemy isn't your partner, but the ego that pushes you to win rather than understand. While disagreements in relationships are inevitable, there's no such thing as winning an argument. If you win, it means your partner has lost, and when your partner loses, the relationship loses. Stoicism teaches us that we should focus on what we can control, our reactions, our emotions, and not on controlling others. If you're driven by the need to be right, you've already lost sight of the bigger picture. The goal shouldn't be to prove who's right. It should be to build understanding and connection. Otherwise, the damage from these battles, especially when it comes to masculine and feminine dynamics, can quietly erode the foundation of your relationship and lead to the unwanted scenario, breakup. Part 1. The masculine need for respect versus the feminine need to be heard. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. A man wants to be respected more than he wants to be loved. This is deeply tied to the Stoic ideal of virtue and honor. Respect for many men is linked to their sense of identity and self-worth. When a man feels disrespected, whether in an argument or through dismissive comments, it's not just the issue at hand that bothers him. It's the attack on his core sense of value. Winning an argument becomes a way for him to reclaim that respect, to feel like he's in control again. On the other hand, a woman thrives on feeling heard. For many women, being heard is one of the most important aspects of a relationship. When a man dismisses her concerns or offers a quick fix without truly listening, it can feel incredibly dismissive. She doesn't want a solution. She wants to be seen, to be understood. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of empathy and understanding. As Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak." If she feels unheard, her feminine energy closes off, and over time, she may withdraw emotionally from the relationship. The more a man fails to listen, the more disconnected the woman feels, and that disconnection can eventually push her away. Now let's add another layer to this. When you argue to win, you shift the dynamic from us to me versus you. Suddenly, you're not partners anymore, you're opponents. And that's where the problem lies. Winning doesn't solve the issue. It just leaves one person feeling silenced and the other victorious, but emotionally distant. This separation between partners is exactly what Stoicism warns against, letting the ego get in the way of your relationships and human connection. Over time, these small victories chip away at the connection, trust, and intimacy that are the foundation of a healthy relationship. Think about how Stoicism views relationships. A Stoic would say that the relationship itself is a partnership based on mutual respect and understanding, not dominance. When you argue to win, you're letting your ego, not your virtue, guide your actions. You're focusing on the external outcome, being right, rather than the internal work, staying connected, being compassionate. This is why the Stoics place so much importance on mastering your own mind and emotions, rather than trying to control external outcomes, like winning an argument. So if winning an argument isn't the goal, what is? The goal should be understanding, resolution, and ultimately connection. Stoicism teaches that true strength lies in humility and self-control, and in relationships, that means sometimes letting go of being right in favor of keeping the relationship strong. And this is where masculine and feminine energy come into play. Part 2. Understanding masculine and feminine energy in conflict. As Stoicism teaches, the moment we let our egos dictate our actions, we lose sight of what truly matters: connection. Here's where relationships get derailed. When a man and woman argue with the intent to win, it creates a shift in the natural masculine-feminine balance. For example, if a woman feels disrespected or unheard in an argument, her instinct might be to defend herself by stepping into her masculine energy. Instead of approaching the situation with vulnerability, she pushes harder, asserting herself with force, not connection. She might argue from a place of proving her point, saying things like, "You never listen to me. I'm always the last priority in your life." While these words come from a place of frustration, they end up creating more distance rather than understanding. And guess what? This triggers a negative reaction in the man. When a woman moves into her masculine energy, the man will feel challenged, like he's up against another man, like a power struggle. He won't react well because biologically and emotionally, masculine energy clashes with masculine energy. Instead of feeling closer, the argument can spiral into a clash of egos, where both partners feel frustrated and misunderstood. His instinct is to respond with more masculine energy, either by overpowering or by shutting down completely. This back and forth creates a tug-of-war for power in the relationship, where both partners are fighting to win, but neither is actually listening or connecting. What some women may not realize is that when they approach a conflict from their feminine energy, she creates space for her partner to respond in his masculine energy in a healthy way. Instead of demanding respect through force, she can express her feelings vulnerably. This invites her partner to step into the role of protector, listener, and collaborator, which is where masculine energy thrives, rather than feeling like he needs to defend his territory. But before we further dive into examples, let's clarify what we mean by masculine and feminine energy. Masculine energy is assertive, direct, and solution-oriented. It seeks structure, control, and often results. Feminine energy, on the other hand, is nurturing, intuitive, and emotional. It seeks connection, understanding, and emotional safety. In relationships, we all have access to both masculine and feminine energy, regardless of gender. The key is knowing when to use which energy, especially during moments of conflict. Problems arise when partners lock into the same energy, two masculine forces clashing, or both partners retreating into a passive feminine space without resolution. The magic happens when the energies complement each other. Let's say a couple is arguing about spending more time together. The woman feels like her partner isn't prioritizing their relationship and is frustrated that he's constantly working or spending time with friends. How she approaches this conflict can completely change the outcome. In a more masculine approach, the woman might get defensive and assertive. She'll confront her partner with a lot of force, something like,
"You never make time for me. You're always working or out with your friends. I'm sick of being last on your priority list."
This statement, while direct, is aggressive and confrontational. It accuses her partner of failing, forces blame, and creates a combative environment. From her partner's perspective, this feels like an attack. As a man, he might feel disrespected. His efforts are being dismissed, and his partner is making it sound like nothing he does is good enough. This approach, though well-intended, pushes him further away because it clashes with his masculine need for respect. The argument quickly escalates into a power struggle, with both partners feeling misunderstood and hurt. Now let's look at how the woman could approach this same situation from a place of feminine energy. Instead of accusing, she expresses her feelings vulnerably, allowing her partner to step into his masculine energy to fix the issue. It might sound more like this:
"I've been feeling lonely lately, and I miss spending time with you. It makes me feel disconnected when we don't have time together, and I'd love it if we could plan something this week."
Notice the difference. In this approach, she's not attacking or blaming. Instead, she's expressing her emotions and inviting her partner to connect. From his perspective, this doesn't feel like a challenge to his masculinity. It feels like an opportunity to step up, to protect and nurture the relationship. By staying in her feminine energy, she creates space for him to meet her halfway. This approach disarms the tension, and the conversation is far more likely to end in a positive resolution where both partners feel heard and respected. Now let's flip the script. Say a man feels disrespected because his partner has undermined him in front of others. In a moment of frustration, he might default to a direct, forceful approach.
"You always disrespect me in front of others, and I'm tired of it."
This direct, assertive approach might seem like it gets to the heart of the issue, but to his partner it can feel like an attack. She may feel blindsided, defensive, and possibly unaware that her behavior had such an impact. By confronting her so forcefully, he risks escalating the argument, where she might push back or deny the accusation, leading to more conflict rather than resolution. Now let's apply some Stoic wisdom. If the man approached the situation with emotional awareness and self-control, he might say,
When we're with other people, I've felt disrespected at times, like my opinions were dismissed. It makes me feel disconnected from you, and I want us to be a team, especially in those situations.
Here, the man maintains his masculine energy by expressing a desire for respect and collaboration. But he's also sensitive to his partner's feelings. He's opening up space for discussion, not confrontation. Stoicism teaches us that true power comes not from dominating others, but from mastering our own responses. In relationships, this means using masculine and feminine energies to complement each other, not clash. Masculine energy seeks to protect, guide, and provide, while feminine energy seeks to nurture, connect, and understand. When both partners tap into these energies from a place of balance, conflict becomes an opportunity for growth, not division. This isn't about changing yourself in hopes that your partner will follow. It's about becoming the best version of you, which naturally encourages a healthier, more balanced partnership. It's like how in Stoicism, the focus is always on what's within your control. You're over halfway through the video. If this message resonates with you, drop a comment below that says, "It's us against the problem," and let's start changing the way we handle conflict in our relationships. Part 3. The real damage of winning. How arguments can push you further apart. So, what really happens when both partners are focused on winning an argument? The truth is, when you're locked into the need to be right, the relationship suffers. Every time you argue with the goal of winning, you're actually losing the most important part of your relationship, the connection. It becomes less about solving the issue and more about overpowering your partner, and that's when things start to unravel. As the Stoics teach, the pursuit of victory through control is ultimately futile. True victory lies in connection, not conquest. When you argue to win, you're not really listening. You're focusing on your next move, planning how to counter their point, or thinking about how to prove them wrong. In the heat of the moment, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture, the relationship itself. And here's the reality. Even if you win the argument, you lose. Your partner walks away feeling unheard, disrespected, or dismissed, and the gap between you grows a little wider. For men, the need to win often stems from a desire to regain respect. You feel challenged, so you push harder to assert yourself. But what many don't realize is that this actually erodes the respect you're seeking. If you dominate the conversation, dismiss your partner's feelings, or bulldoze over the discussion just to prove a point, you might win the argument, but you lose the emotional connection that fosters real respect. The harder you push to win, the more your partner starts to emotionally withdraw. She may comply on the surface, but underneath, she's distancing herself from you. For women, the consequences of trying to win can be equally damaging. You might argue harder to be heard, to prove that your feelings are valid, but in doing so, you may unintentionally push your partner away. The more you try to assert yourself aggressively, the more defensive he becomes. And when a man feels attacked, he's likely to shut down emotionally, leaving you feeling even more disconnected. Over time, the more you both argue from a place of trying to win, the further you drift apart, and eventually, you start to wonder why the relationship feels so strained. Think about it from the perspective of your relationship as a whole. Every argument that turns into a battle is like another brick in a wall being built between you and your partner. One argument might not seem like a big deal, but over time, these bricks stack up until you realize there's an emotional distance between you that wasn't there before. Each win comes at the cost of intimacy and trust, the very foundation of any healthy relationship. When a man dominates an argument, dismissing his partner's feelings in the process, he's not gaining respect. He's eroding it. His partner may feel belittled, unimportant, and unheard, which only deepens the emotional gap. Over time, she may stop sharing her thoughts and feelings altogether because she no longer feels safe being vulnerable with him. And when that happens, the relationship shifts from being a place of emotional support to one of tension and disconnect. On the other hand, when a woman feels unheard, it creates a deep emotional wound. She may come to her partner with something that's bothering her, hoping to feel understood. But if he shuts her down or tries to quickly fix the problem without truly listening, it feels like her emotions don't matter. This feeling of being dismissed time after time builds resentment. It's not just about the argument anymore, it's about the lack of emotional safety in the relationship. If this pattern continues, she'll start to emotionally check out, and once that happens, it becomes increasingly difficult to bridge the growing divide. So what's the alternative to winning? It's understanding. When you let go of the need to be right, you make space for real conversation, where both of you can be heard and understood. For men, that means listening deeply to your partner, not to fix the issue right away, but to genuinely hear what she's feeling. For women, it means expressing your emotions in a way that invites connection rather than confrontation. When both partners focus on understanding rather than winning, the emotional bond strengthens and conflicts become opportunities for growth, not division. In the end, winning an argument may give you a brief moment of satisfaction, but it's not worth the long-term cost. Each time you argue to win, you're slowly losing the emotional connection that holds the relationship together. What's worse, over time, those small victories add up to a much bigger loss: the trust, intimacy, and respect that once defined your relationship. So the next time you find yourself in an argument, ask yourself, am I trying to win or am I trying to connect? Because in a relationship, true victory lies in connection, not conquest. Part 4. How to argue without losing the relationship. The real secret to handling conflict in relationships isn't about backing down or giving up your perspective. It's about complementing your partner's energy. If one partner is coming from a place of masculine energy, focused on fixing the problem or defending their position, the other partner can step into their feminine energy to create space for connection. This doesn't mean submitting or suppressing your emotions. It means recognizing that in relationships, the goal isn't to win the argument, it's to strengthen the relationship. When both partners can shift between masculine and feminine energy as needed, conflict becomes a tool for growth, not a battlefield. Imagine a couple arguing about finances, one of the most common sources of conflict. The man, in his masculine energy, is focused on creating structure, stability, and control. He might say,
"We need to cut back on spending. We're going over budget every month, and it's stressing me out. We have to fix this now."
This is a very masculine approach, direct, solution-oriented, and somewhat controlling. While his intention is to create stability, the tone may come across as demanding or rigid. In Stoic terms, he's letting his need for control overshadow his ability to navigate the conversation with emotional awareness. His focus is on the problem, not the relationship. Now, if his partner responds with the same level of force, equally rooted in masculine energy, the argument will likely escalate into a power struggle. The Stoic lesson here is to remember that only by mastering yourself, your emotions, reactions, and words, can you master any situation. But if she steps into her feminine energy, she can complement his approach without feeling overpowered. She could say,
I understand that the budget is important, and I know it's been stressing you out. I want to work on this together because I care about our future. Maybe we can sit down and talk about it when we're both calmer.
This response acknowledges his concerns, but shifts the tone from control to collaboration. She's not dismissing the issue, but she's diffusing the intensity of the argument by creating a space for a more productive conversation. By doing so, she invites him to step back from his defensive position and approach the issue with greater emotional awareness. Her approach echoes the Stoic principle of not reacting impulsively to challenges. Instead, she exercises control over her response, guiding the conversation toward a solution rather than fueling the conflict. In this way, she's practicing the Stoic virtue of prudence, the ability to discern the best course of action in any situation. When she steps into her feminine energy, she softens the emotional charge and invites her partner to engage with her on a deeper level. She doesn't suppress her own feelings or give in. Instead, she reframes the conflict as a team effort rather than a fight for dominance. This creates a more balanced complementary dynamic, where each partner's energy serves to support the other rather than oppose it. The bottom line is this: there are no real winners in relationship arguments. When you argue to win, you risk losing the most important things: respect, trust, and emotional intimacy. Every time you push to be right, you create distance between you and your partner, and over time that distance adds up. For men, winning an argument might feel like regaining control or asserting dominance, but if it leaves your partner feeling unheard or disrespected, the long-term cost is far too high. For women, stepping into masculine energy might feel like the only way to be heard, but if it pushes your partner further away, you're left with even less connection than before. The next time you find yourself in an argument, ask yourself, am I trying to win or am I trying to connect? The answer to that question will guide your actions. For men, offer respect by listening, not overpowering. For women, stay in your feminine energy and express your feelings with vulnerability, not force. Together, you can navigate conflict in a way that strengthens your relationship rather than tearing it down. Thank you for watching. If this message resonates with you, drop a comment below that says, "It's us against the problem," and let's start changing the way we handle conflict in our relationships. And don't forget to subscribe for more content that helps you build stronger, healthier connections.